The American stock market is considered one of the safest places for investors to put their money. It is a highly regulated and transparent system that operates with strict laws and regulations. Unfortunately, fraudulent companies can sometimes slip through the regulatory measures put in place by the American stock market. Occasionally, even the most prosperous companies on the stock market can turn out to be fraudulent. In this video, we will be ranking the top 5 largest public companies that turned out to be totally fraudulent. Number 5. Preex Minerals, $4.4 billion. Out of all the companies mentioned in this list, this particular one stands out, as it was a Canadian company. Preex was the largest gold mining scam in history, masterminded by Michael de Guzman. He turned a penny stock into a billion-dollar scam and made millions of dollars for himself. In 1993, Preex Minerals acquired a gold mine in Busong, Indonesia. To assess the potential gold yield, the company created crushed core samples by extracting rocks from the mine and crushing them into a fine powder to analyze the concentration of gold. Michael de Guzman, who was in charge of the Busong mine at Preex, committed fraud by adding gold dust to the core samples before an independent auditor had the chance to evaluate them. This practice is commonly referred to as salting. The independent auditor failed to detect the salting and provided an estimate that the Busong mine contained 70 million ounces of gold, making it the largest gold deposit in the world. This announcement caused Preex's stock to surge from a few cents to $286 per share. Shortly after, Michael de Guzman sold his shares for millions of dollars. The fraud began to unravel in 1996 when the Indonesian government revoked Preex's exploration permit, opening up the property to other mining companies. Preex was forced to accept a new mining partner, Freeport-McMoRan, who subsequently announced negligible gold amounts in their independent core samples. This announcement sparked a frenzied sell-off of Preex shares, and the next day, Michael de Guzman plunged to his death from a helicopter 500 feet above an Indonesian rainforest. A subsequent analysis of the core samples from the Busong mine revealed that they had been salted with gold dust, leading to Preex filing for bankruptcy and shareholders losing their entire investment, previously valued at $4.4 billion US dollars. Some reporters speculate that Michael de Guzman, the mastermind behind the scam, faked his own death and is currently enjoying the millions of dollars he made from the scam. Number 4. Wirecard, $27 billion. Wirecard was a payment processor and financial services provider in Germany. It was once part of the DAX 40 index, which is an index consisting of the top 40 blue-chip companies in Germany. Rumors of unethical business practices have followed Wirecard since as early as 2008. Over the next decade, the Financial Times had been watching Wirecard very closely, and in late 2019, the Financial Times published documents indicating that Wirecard's profits were fraudulently inflated. In response to this publication, KPMG and Ernst & Young were brought on to do an audit of Wirecard. The auditors reported their inability to verify Wirecard's supposed 1.9 billion euros it had stashed in Philippines bank accounts. The 2 Philippine banks, thought to be holding the 1.9 billion euros, said they do not have the money and never did. Shortly after, on June 19, 2020, Wirecard admitted that the 1.9 billion euros never existed. 3 days later, a criminal investigation into Wirecard was launched, and Wirecard CEO Marcus Braun was arrested the same day. Prosecutors accused Marcus Braun of faking documents and signing off on inaccurate financial reports in an effort to dupe investors. The chief operating officer of Wirecard disappeared and is currently on Europe's most wanted list. Investors who held onto their Wirecard shares lost their entire investment, with $27 billion of shareholder value being wiped out. Number 3. Nikola Motor Company, $33 billion. In 2020, Nikola Motor gained popularity by announcing its plan to develop a pickup truck and tractor-trailer cab that would be powered by hydrogen fuel cells. This announcement was followed by General Motors' decision to invest $2 billion into Nikola, further bolstering the company's reputation.
This morning, Nikola Badger will be engineered and manufactured by GM. GM getting an 11% ownership stake in Nikola as a result, and the right to nominate one director to the board.
However, just 1 week after the GM announcement, a short-selling firm called Hindenburg Research accused Nikola of fraud.
Nikola shares are tumbling after a short seller called the company, quote, an intricate fraud built on dozens of lies.
Hindenburg claimed that a video created by the company's founder, Milton, falsely portrayed the Nikola 1 semi-truck as being able to move using its own hydrogen fuel generator, when in reality it was just rolling downhill. As a result of Hindenburg's report, the SEC and the Department of Justice launched investigations into Nikola for fraud. In 2022, Milton was found guilty in federal court on 3 counts of fraud for making false statements to increase the value of Nikola's stock.
Founder of Nikola Motors facing years in prison following his conviction on fraud charges.
The case against Milton has also confirmed that the video of Nikola's truck in motion was the result of it simply rolling downhill. Since the peak of Nikola's stock in June 2020, the company's shares have lost 97% of their value. This has resulted in the loss of $33 billion of shareholder value. Number 2. Enron. $70 billion. Enron was once highly regarded and one of the largest companies in the United States, as evidenced by its 5th place ranking on the Fortune 500 list during its peak. Enron was a multinational energy, commodities, and services corporation that collapsed in 2001 due to fraudulent accounting practices, which involved manipulating financial statements to appear better than reality. The company inflated earnings using mark-to-market accounting, created off-balance sheet entities known as special purpose entities to conceal their debt, engaged in insider trading, and made false statements to investors about its financial performance. One of Enron's most nefarious acts was the manipulation of the electricity market in California. Enron created artificial shortages of electricity to drive up prices, which had a devastating impact on the state's power supply. Energy traders at Enron would take power plants offline, causing the price of electricity to skyrocket.
Hey, this is David up at Enron. There's not much demand for power at all, and if we shut it down, could you bring it back up in 3 or 4 hours?
Oh, yeah.
Why don't you just go ahead and shut her down then, if that's okay?
Okay.
Enron's deliberate creation of a scarcity of power allowed its traders to sell the electricity back to the market at significantly higher prices, resulting in enormous profits for the company and its traders. This in turn forced the state to implement rolling blackouts to prevent a complete grid failure. These blackouts resulted in significant economic damage, estimated at $40 billion for the state of California.
Temperatures in California are hitting higher than 100 degrees, fueling wildfires and fears that California's strained power grid could once again near collapse.
What's happening? There's a fire under the core line. It's been derated from 45 to 2100. Burn, baby, burn. That's a beautiful thing.
The Enron fraud was extensive and involved numerous unethical practices within the company. To gain a deeper understanding of the scandal, I recommend watching the documentary The Smartest Guys in the Room. Enron's collapse led to the loss of $70 billion in shareholder value. As a result of the company's fraudulent accounting practices, many Enron executives faced criminal charges and received prison sentences. Among them, the CEO, Jeff Skilling, served a 12-year sentence before being released in 2018. Number 1. Worldcom, $175 billion. During the early 2000s, Worldcom, a significant telecommunications industry player, committed what is widely regarded as the largest accounting fraud case in American history. The fraud was committed by the company's executives, including CEO Bernie Ebbers, CFO Scott Sullivan, and others. The fraud involved inflating the company's revenues and profits to make the company appear more profitable and financially stable than it actually was. This was done by falsely capitalizing expenses as assets on the company's balance sheet instead of expensing them. Worldcom also used reserve accounts to manipulate the company's financial statements and hide its losses. The fraud was eventually uncovered in 2002 when Sullivan admitted to accounting fraud and agreed to cooperate with the authorities. Worldcom executives admitted that it had overstated its income by over $3.8 billion over the course of 5 quarters. Ebbers was found guilty of securities fraud and conspiracy charges and was sentenced to 25 years in prison, while Sullivan received a 5-year sentence for his role in the fraud. Interestingly, Enron and Worldcom shared the same auditor, Arthur Andersen, whose responsibility was to examine their financial statements for accuracy and compliance with regulations to protect investors. The accounting scandal at Worldcom resulted in the company declaring bankruptcy, causing investors to lose approximately $175 billion in Worldcom stock. While filming this video, Hindenburg Research, the firm credited with uncovering fraud at Nikola Motor Company, alleges that they have found an even larger case of fraud than Worldcom. The Adani Group is the company they suspect of carrying out this fraud, which was once valued at over $280 billion. To learn more about Adani Group, click on the screen to watch my video.